Christian is our guest this week on People in Seoul, and wow, does he have an interesting background. He is an American-born son of a Korean mother and a German father. He's had an extensive musical education, performed his first solos at the age of 12, and he's been all over the world, received a massive arm-long length of awards from various corners of the musical community. He's been on tour in Europe and in Korea, and now he's back as a lecturer in violin at Gangnam University, and he's pursuing a PhD at Seoul National University. Christian, welcome to the studio.
Hello, Kurt. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
It's wonderful to have you. You are the son of a Korean piano master, shall we say?
Sure, yeah.
And your father is also an instrumentalist?
Well, as you said, my mother is a wonderful pianist, and she came to Germany for studies where she met my father. My father is not a musician by profession. He's a scientist, a chemist, but he passionately plays organ in church and also plays the piano too, and they also met through music.
And what are your earliest sort of musical recollections? Was it mom sitting you down at the piano and saying, "You'll thank me later"? Or
That is a good question. Actually, there are pictures, and I do remember my mom was in her final semesters of studying organ for a concert diploma, and I remember just crawling around the organ pedals when she was practicing, I just grew up with music in our household, and so did my siblings too, and it's just been a part of our lives.
What I'm getting at is, what kind of voice do you think you are best at making the violin express?
Well, I hope that my playing is, if anything, emotional. Of course, I think that I would speak for many of us musicians. I think, after all, the most important thing is to evoke some emotions in the listeners. And that also means that you have to be emotional on stage to be able to transmit something to the audience. And so if anything, I hope it's that.
Having a PhD is obviously in your sights. And then do you conceive yourself as sort of a solo artist, or do you conceive of yourself leading a traditional orchestra or that kind of thing? Where do you picture your next goal?
I think leading an orchestra or playing solo chamber music, those, of course, are in some degree different skill sets too. And my experience is mostly in chamber music and as a soloist, I think. And what I would love to do personally, and that's also where my PhD comes into play, is I would love to continue teaching in a university setting. That's really what I love to do, to try to pass on what I learned and what I experienced to a new generation of musicians too, myself. But also to play on stage, and this might be with different ensembles with wonderful colleagues, which I'm really happy to do. And as a soloist, that would be my ideal. My professional debut as a soloist with orchestra was 2006 here. And since then, I've been, I would say, on average once or twice a year for concerts. And I moved here to Seoul about 1.5 years ago. And so this is the longest stretch for sure. I'm here continuously.
This is immersion now.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
To what extent did mom, throughout your life, kind of spoon-feed you Korean, either language, culture, or whatever?
Well, I spoke Korean until I went to the kindergarten, actually.
Oh, yeah?
And then I apparently went to the kindergarten and came home and was so sad because no one wanted to speak Korean to me in Germany.
Imagine.
Since then, I didn't speak Korean anymore, but I'm trying to catch up with that now. But I feel growing up and also seeing now from a different angle now that I think it was raised more Korean than German in a way.
What does that mean?
I think you know what it means, Kurt.
Well, I know a surprising number of... These are two extremely disciplined cultures.
In different ways.
In different ways. Koreans, if we're going to be stereotypical, Koreans are more passionate, Germans are perhaps a bit more controlled and cerebral. How do you reconcile the two identities?
Well, I was asked so many times in my life, are you more German, are you more Korean? And of course, in the end, I'm myself, and of course, I combine two poles, but also different influences. Why do I think I'm raised more Korean than German? I think I love this notion of respect for... I'm not saying Germans are not respectful, but Koreans have a specific way of treating...
Ritualized.
Absolutely. And And then also what you mentioned, this passionate part versus the more objective, analyzing, accurate German. I hope, of course, I have some of these positive traits of a German too, but I feel I'm more on the passionate side of things.
Yeah. So in this year or so that you've been back, any bumps, obstacles? Were you as Korean as you thought you were coming back to live? Or?
It was harder than I thought to get started here. It's a new environment. Of course, not too many people I know. New language I'm struggling with, although I'm familiar with the sound, but still. But I learned to really love Seoul and Korea, and it turned out to be everything I hoped it would be.
Korea loves its returning heroes. You've been extremely successful, and I've seen you now in various television network documentaries and stuff. You're kind of touring around and being hugged by the children and teaching the kids. You've done some of that, right? You've done some sort of mentoring.
Yeah, I love this. It's such a reward to pass on what you benefited from, what you learned, and just to see how it lights up like children's smiles. It's amazing.